Joey. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to my mess. Starting this video with my work table already in a little bit of a mess because I just finished doing 2 projects with the Mountain Heather collection of 11O Delica seed beads from Adornable Elements. I am now getting the Beads of the Month Club and I'm rotating the different subscriptions. So last month I got Rocaille beads. This month I got Delicas. I don't know what I'm getting next month, maybe gemstones. It's a really fun club, very reasonably priced, and they've been around for like 25 years. So it's like the original bead box subscription. So this is what I did. I was so inspired by these colors, just so inspired. It's a mix of like a raspberry pink and a couple of shades of purple and blue and green. And I did this chain out of these Delicas and some 20 gauge wire. So I did earrings and then I did a bracelet. I just love this chain. It's so cool. It's a little bit edgy in its shape and contemporary maybe, but also just sweet and beautiful and colorful. So this is what the bracelet looks like. And these beads here that you see are from the the bargain bead box this month. So they coordinate beautifully. Somehow the 2 boxes just collided this month, but that makes me so happy. So let me show you this funky thing. Don't laugh. Okay, if you want to laugh, you can laugh. I want to show you what I bought. I bought this. Okay, you can laugh. I like to go out and spark my creativity by looking at things. And I was just like puttering around after the holidays and I found this silliness, and like the reindeer and all of this is silliness, and like this could make you win not the ugly sweater contest but the ugly earring contest. But if you zero in on just the bead here, isn't that a fabulous, wonderful beaded bead and so simple to do? So I'm going to disconnect the little reindeer faces and I'm going to harvest these beaded beads and use those in a project. But it gave me the idea. Look at mine. So I did mine a little differently. If you can see, I have a simple loop in the top and I'll show you exactly how I did that. Now this one is done and it is ready because I'm going to be making a necklace that coordinates with these. So it is ready to be attached to the necklace. I've added in a little bit of scrap chain from my stash and some gold seed beads because we got these beautiful silver ones, but I actually wanted to mix in some textures in my beaded bead, some rocaille, there's some crystals in here, and I'll show you exactly what I did. But this is ready to go on. So I'm gonna show you exactly what I did and start it. This is probably about 2 hours of work. So put on a movie. There's absolutely no way to get this wrong. If you're a person that says, oh, I don't do bead weaving, I don't make beaded beads, I don't like needle and thread, you will love this. And I really hope you'll give this a try because there's no way to make a mistake. There's no way to mess this up. It's a wonderful, funky, absolutely astonishing beaded bead. So I'm going to talk to you about how I got that going, but also if you didn't see this video, I'll show you how I made the chain with these 15O Delica seed beads and some 20 gauge wire. It's a little bit surprising if you didn't see it. And so the only thing I'll show you before we get started, this commercially made one is a seed bead. They did their thread up out of this bead with a seed bead and then put a jump ring through the last seed bead. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do mine a little different way. So I'll show you how I get started on this, and then I'm going to set it aside and show you what I plan to do for my necklace project that's going to coordinate. And I'm going to do most of it off camera because it's making these components or these links, in this case they are links, is very repetitive. So the first thing that I did is took a piece of 20 gauge wire. I'm using my Softflex craft wire. It has an anti-tarnish coating, and I'm going to take my flush side of my cutters and make a really sharp cut. Like, can you see the angle that I'm holding it at? Just direct it down. So I just made like a spear. It's the exact opposite of what we ever do in anything in jewelry making. We usually want a blunt cut, but I'm doing that, and then I'm going to take a little felt bead. I call it a bead, but it's really a ball, I guess, and just poke a hole through. Just poke a hole and kind of let it sit on there. And then I used my 2 1/4 millimeter one-step looper to just put a simple loop in one side of this. And so this way, when I make my beaded bead, instead of having to do a seed bead strand or anything, I am ready to turn this beaded bead into anything, a component or anything. I would advise doing this first. Now, the beaded bead that I'm going to make is also going to be using something from our bargain bead box. These electroplated quartz nuggets are stunning, and they look absolutely amazing with the beads in this month's Adornable Elements kit. And I have also pulled in, let me just show you this dish. I have decided to put some faceted check glass rounds in this beaded bead and mix in with these delicas. And I also have my little seed bead tray here loaded with some galvanized champagne colored gold seed beads that are rocaille. So those are going to be all my textures, and I'll just give you a close-up look of the one that I did. So you see the crystals in there. Some of my strands are all gold. I've mixed every single color, like literally all the colors from the box in this beaded bead. And I'm telling you, I'm in love with this. If you're a fidgeter, this is just so fun, and you are done when you're done. I mean, I'm so excited to share this with you. So anyway, that's how I got started. And then I am just using some Fireline. It's 8 pound. You can use literally any kind of thread that you have for bead weaving. It doesn't have to be super strong. And I had white on hand, so that's what I'm using. And I tucked my threaded needle. I'm sorry, I'm reaching because I have a cat, and I do not want her to get hurt by catching her tail on thread, or, you know, I've heard horror stories about cats and, you know, bead needles. So I'm really careful about setting mine aside. So I have threaded my needle. If you need a trick for threading your needle, you can probably use a big eye needle for this, but all I do is take my pliers and flatten the thread, and then it goes through the eye of the needle. This is a really old needle. I could have gotten a new one, but I just kept this, and I started out with a wingspan or so, and I did have to add in thread twice to this because I wanted to keep going. So depending on how many little what are we going to call this, tendrils, I actually want to do one of these in like a white or a cream, because wouldn't that look like a dandelion, you know, in the spring? I just thought that would be so beautiful. But this could be like a sea urchin. It can be a beaded pom-pom. I'm going to have to come up with a name for this beaded bead, but it's adorable. So anyway, that is what I did. And then it does not even matter where you start. I'm not even tying a knot. I am just going to push this needle through that felt ball and just pull it through, and like adding in thread. I do have a pretty long piece here because it's a full wingspan, but adding in thread is no big deal because you don't have to worry about anything fancy for tying in. And I'm just going to do like an overhand knot, not even pulling it inside the felt. I mean, like I said, you cannot mess this up, you guys, and it is so much fun. And the more you do, the more you're going to be in love with your bead. I can just tell you, the first strand, you're going, okay, is this actually going to turn out? And it more than turns out. It's so yummy and just over the top. I just love it. So I'm just doing like a second knot, a second little loop, and I'm just letting it hang out on the outside of the bead. And I'm going to kind of get rid of this little tail. I won't cut it super short because I want to just stitch right on top, just stitch it down. So yeah, I'm ready to go. I've already started my beaded bead. And now I'm just going to say that on this one, I counted my colored beads. I did 7, and then my bead for the end. So it was a total of 8 beads, and you can see how the fringiness looks with 7. But this is going to be a necklace project, and this is going into a bracelet project, and I want my fringiness to be shorter. I'm going to try 5 seed beads and then my gold one, and see how it does. So let me get some of these. I actually have a larger one of these trays too. This is a set of 2, this little seed bead tray, and I love it. It makes beading so much easier than picking things up off the mat or relying on your fingers. The shape of it and the little spongy base to it. Okay, so I just put a few. This is my inspiration bead because, as I said, if you didn't get this, I'm excited about this project, and so I actually am doing 2 projects. I'm going to show you the beaded bead for this project that you will see in another video, and then I'm going to come back and make the necklace project that is here. So I've got 2 things going on here, but both of these projects are a little time consuming. Making this beaded bead is, and making all of these components. So I wanted to get them started, and then I'll go off camera and come back and show you where I am at. So I'm going to start with 5 seed beads. And like I have said a few times, I found these trays a month or so ago, and they make beading so easy. I don't have a mess. If I need to walk away and come back, I can set this aside. And by the way, if you like the looks of this crazy beaded bead, it is something that you can so easily work on it for 10 minutes. Set it aside, go do something else. You don't have to sit and do it all at once. You can't possibly lose your place. There's no rules. Like, I cannot tell you how much fun this project is. So let me just get this down to my bead. This is a pretty long piece of thread because it's the first one. So this is the start. I have 5 of my delicas and 1 gold rocaille, and I'm going to leave this one alone and put my needle back down through the delicas, all 5 of them, and just go right through the beaded bead and just pull. And so, like I said, I want to make this one a little bit shorter because my idea is to put this in a bracelet design. So my little fringiness is quite a bit shorter. And so, and again, I'm just going to fill this up like this. So I'll just choose another color. It doesn't matter. Really, it's so random. And what happens is, as you start to fill it in, then you can start to see where you need a different color, or where you might want to add gold. And then I am also going to cut the strands open of the check glass. I have 2 and 3 millimeter here, and I'm going to fit those in, and I'll show you with my sample that's done. It's hard to count to 5 and chat, but let me complete this row and I'll show you what the crystals can do when you're filling in your little felt ball. And I'm doing gold, but you could choose a metallic, or you could do it all like this. This crazy one is pretty much all one color with just a few crystals in there. They use the same bead for their end turnaround bead. I like the look of the gold, so I'm just going to move that gold one out of the way, run my needle back down my entire row. Don't miss a bead, because you'll mess up your fringe. That's really the only thing that you could mess up. But then once it's all done, a mistake like that doesn't even show. And the cool thing about this is, if you accidentally counted 6 beads, or it just gets, as you can see, how would you know if I miscounted a bead? It's not one of those bead needle and thread patterns that you have to get crazy about. It's just awesome. And like I said, it starts out looking a little bit like a funky bug, and the more you go, the more you're going to love it. As it fills in, you just love it. And doing your eye pin through with a little bit of extra, it just gives you something to hold on to and work with as you fill this up. But let me show you on this one, like the crystals that I used in this one, they take up a little bit of space on your base, like to really cover the felt ball. And then also these are 11.0 champagne galvanized gold seed beads, but they are a little bit larger than the 11.0 delicas. So those things give you a lot of texture. So you could do as many different textures as you like, or, you know, keep it all the same. Like it's really fun, you guys. It's really fun. So I'm just gonna do a few, like what I did on this one is I did all my colors first, and when I felt like I had color all the way around my bead, then I went back and said I need gold here, I want a crystal here, and I think I'm going to do the same thing because it worked really well. So I'm just going to switch. And on this, I haven't decided yet on this project if I'm going to use the raspberry or not. This is a totally different project than I wanted to make one of these so badly. And of course, before I shared it with you, I wanted to make sure that I could do it and that it worked as well as I thought it would. I am a huge fan of projects that are stunning and beautiful, but uncomplicated and super easy, so that you love making the thing and you're not like pulling your hair out when you get to the end of the project. And this definitely fits checks all those boxes for me, for sure. So doesn't it look weird? I just love it. It's so weird and wonderful. And like I say, put a movie on, put on something that you just love to listen to, or, you know, make a pot of tea. I'm about to do that. I'm about to make a pot of tea and put some macarons on a little plate and just a string and make components. It is a Sunday afternoon, and it is the perfect project for a day like this. So I am just going to continue like that. Just let these beads drop down to my little felt ball and run my needle back through. Like, this could not be easier. It doesn't matter where you come out. You know, like you can go wherever you want. You can't mess this up, you guys. So if you're a person that says, oh, I don't do bead weaving, I really hope you'll give this a try. And I would totally love to hear from you if you do. Or are you still laughing at the reindeer bead and you think I'm crazy and what am I doing making a crazy bead like this? But I love it. I think it's amazing. And when this one is done, it's going to be used in a totally different project. And you'll see this one is actually going to be the pendant on this necklace. So I will share that with you. So let me finish this. I think I needed my gold bead. Let me finish one more little fringy or pom-pom, or I don't have any. I have to come up with a name for this. A pom-pom beaded bead, or, oh, I don't know. I have to think about it. I have to have a creative name for this. But that's all I did, and I just went around and I kept doing that until this whole thing was just as full as I wanted. I mean, when I knew I was finished, when I was starting to have a hard time finding a space for my needle to come out of. So I am going to set this funky little lollipop aside. and show you the components for this. So this is what it looks like. And on this project, I'm going to be using pretty much all the colors. This was the green I used. I want this necklace to coordinate with my bracelet and earrings, and I want the chain that I'm going to make also to be perfect for this as a pendant. So this is what my beginning wires look like, and I pre-cut a lot of them because I have to make a whole chain. So, you know, like I did 2, 4, 6, 8, there's 10 just in the little bracelet, and another 2, 4, another 8 in there. And this is what they look like. They are super easy to do. So how I pre-cut is I take that same 20 gauge wire, and I like to start off with it very straight. It's really important, as you can see on a project like this, that the links be straight. And then I just used one. I've gone with about 1.25 inches. For me, that was the sweet spot, but you could make your links shorter or a little bit longer. And then all I did is measure the first one, and then I just continued to use that as a measurement. And it doesn't matter how you cut it because the simple loops are going to get cut again. But that just gave me a starting point. Okay, and then what I did is I used my smallest size of my one-step looper, and this keeps you, if you use this tool for a project like this, it keeps you from having to measure. So I'm going to take this empty wire, no beads on it, and just place it where it is just past the back jaw of the tool, and it's against this plate right here. And when I close it, it makes a nice fresh, I don't even know where it went. It makes a oh, there, it's still stuck in the tool. It makes a blunt cut, so it just gives me a nice clean cut, so I can skip that step with my cutters. It's making the loop for me, and now my wire's going off into who knows. I'm going to pull it down, so now I can see that loop is centered on this wire. If it weren't straight, I can do that now. I can hold it in the tool and do my nylon jaw pliers, but I started with a nice straight piece of wire, and when I take it away, I have a perfect loop, and it's exactly the same as every other link in my chain. I like to put my pliers on everything, work hardened by opening and closing with a little bit of force. If I see that there's even a teeny bit of space where this is not touching the wire, I have to mess with it because that's just me. But let me set my little inspiration bead aside. Isn't it crazy when you have two projects going at once? I mean, I love it. And then, so I'm going to just mix up all the colors that I used. So I'll do this one in the light blue. And isn't it crazy that this is 20 gauge wire and these little seed beads slide right onto it? I think that's so cool. It fascinates me. And I did 12, so that's 3, 4, okay. So there's 12 on there, and I'm going to get a simple loop in this end with my tool. So this time I am going to pay attention to the front jaw of the plier, gently close the tool here. It's just a little bit of pressure so that I can see what I'm doing, and I can see that my seed bead is not getting broken, and when I close it gently, it makes that cut for me. And then as I'm closing here, I can see where my loop is, and I can watch and see that I'm not damaging my seed beads. And as I'm closing the tool, I'll pull it down out of the way of the jaw of the plier. And now I can see that those loops are perfectly aligned. If they are not, this is the time to, you know, mess with it. And when I take this off the tool, I have a perfect link, and it matches all of my other links just perfectly. So what I did is I have gold filled jump rings, and that is what I made this chain out of. I love this when I love a project and when I think it's something that I'll wear a lot. I like to up my game a little bit, so to speak, with nicer supplies. And so all I do to make this chain is at random with these colors, I'm going to just alternate them. I'll just always make sure that I don't have like 2 of the same purples or 2 of the same pinks, but I am just going to feed 2 of these links onto one of these gold filled jump rings and close it really well, and another jump ring here. And before I close this jump ring, I will add in 2 more links, and this little Delica chain just unfolds before your eyes, and it gets, you know, it's just like the beaded bead. It gets prettier with every addition. Just have to make sure not to twist your links when you connect it with the jump ring. So I'll lay that there because I have a lot of components to make, so I have to repeat that a lot of times. So that's why I have so many of my wires cut and ready to go. And the other thing that I do when I have to make a beaded chain is I keep my 1-step looper in my hand. So I'll just flip it out of the way like that and come in and, you know, count my 12 seed beads. And this is just repeat, repeat, repeat. 4, 5, 6. When I come back, we will, you know, finish connecting, and I will do this funky little pendant add-on with you guys. And the only other decision, and I will think about it as I am sitting here working, I have these beautiful raspberry colored faceted check glass rounds. I really wish they were 6 or 8 millimeter, because what I was thinking is to make a beaded component for like every second or third link in my chain. I also have these, which I bought these on a bead shopping trip. They are almost an exact match to this Delica seed bead, and they're a little bit larger. So as I'm sitting here making all these links, I have to decide if I want to keep my necklace just like this, or if I want to do some beaded components as a link. So I'm going to play with that idea. So that's why this is out here, so that I can look at it and decide what I want to do. I would be sold on this if it was just a little bit bigger, but maybe it's a good size. I always care about the scale when I'm designing, so maybe that's actually a good size for keeping my chain going. I don't know. As I'm chatting with you, I'm rethinking, thinking it was too small. So I am going to keep going. It will just be a second for you. You're going to be amazed through the magic of editing how I come back and show you what I have here. Okay, all of my links are done. My beaded bead is done, and I am on my finishing touches. So let me pull this up to the camera and show you what I decided on as I was making those components. I decided to change up my pattern from what I did on the bracelet. And so what I did for my center focal on the necklace is 1 link on each side, and then my beaded bead with my chain and my charm hanging from that. And then I took those little raspberry check glass faceted rounds and did some components. And so that is my focal point on the necklace. And then through the chain, every third link, I added in one of those. And then I wanted a tiny bit more length on my chain, so I've done for the back of the neck where the clasp is going to be, I just added 5 links, and it looks really pretty. So the cool thing about doing the little funky beaded bead this way with the simple loop in the top is that it hides in there, so it almost looks like it's suspended. So if you want to use these as a connector, doing it that way you can, but if you don't want it as a connector, if you just want to hang something from one side, you can just let that simple loop kind of hide in there. So I really like putting it together that way. So let me show you how we finish up the beaded bead. I've harvested the ones from those earrings, and I will use them. I mean, they're already done. I think mine are prettier, but you know, so I just kept going through my you know, adding my beads and pulling through, and where I pulled through looking for a spot that looked empty and checking to see if I had my colors kind of evenly dispersed. And I'm thrilled with this, and I actually like the 5, well, it actually turned out to be 6 bead length rather than the 8. I just think it looks a little bit more compact. But I'm on the final finish, so let me show you. Let me find where I am. So all I did is kind of separate some of my little, I do not know what to call this, my little fringes, I guess. And I just put the needle through. I've already done it twice, and I just wanted to show you how I'm going to finish this. So I've just put it like through, not straight through the center, but just on this side of the little felt ball, and I'm just going to loop that through. And I did it a couple of times, 2-3 times, and just kind of get that a knot down in between. I'm just going to pull it really tight, and it's done. So there's like, I did like 3 knots there, and I'm going to snip that off and let that, you know, just hide in between my fringiness here. Find this. Okay, so this is what we have, and so here is my loop at the top. So I'm going to pull that really tight in the bead, and here again I'm going to separate my fringiness. I used my 2 1/4 millimeter one-step looper fringes out of the way. I'm going to do the same thing that I always do, kind of close it gently, and if you push your eye pin there when you make that cut, you'll get it nice and close to the bead. And we'll have to like get my pliers in here to close that loop, because there was a lot of little fringes in the way of the tool. And whatever I attach to this loop, of course, I don't want it to fall off. So that little funky little bead, oh my goodness, these are so fun. I loved making this. There's no right or wrong. On my colors on this one, I decided that my blue Delica bead was just going to be an accent color. So if you notice, there's just a tiny bit of the blue, and mostly it's the purple and the check glass. And so you will be seeing this in another project. I did it to coordinate with these electroplated quartz nugget beads. And so I'm going to set this aside because this is for another project. But that is exactly how I did the one for this necklace project. And like I said, I really want to make one of these, and I think I would do it shorter in whites and creams and do like a dandelion themed necklace. I just think it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and so fun to make. I mean, I can't tell you how fun it was to sit and do that. So I'm just going to finish connecting this with you. I just wanted to show you the final connection on this. It's the same as what I was doing. I do have my little components made and kind of lined up the way that I want to connect them. So I am back with these little jump rings that are gold filled, and I'm just going to attach everything. What, Bella Cat? Oh, something is on my patio. This is the Bella Cat universe, and nothing is allowed to be on her at her house. So I'm gonna thread my jump ring, my 2 components in the order that I had them laid out here. My colors that I chose are totally random, but I did want to make sure that they were like alternated, so like not having 2 pinks show up together, just, you know, kind of I laid them out to kind of alternate. And I am going to just continue like that to the end. Okay, this is my last one, and I just wanted to show you that when I switched to just a classic beaded chain where I turn these check glass beads into components, I did go up to my 2 1/4 millimeter one-step looper. Having a little bit larger loop just makes the chain more fluid, and your sections, your links of your chain don't get kinked or stuck. So when they have a little bit larger loop, so it just gives it a little bit more fluidity. And that should give me my perfect length. I love adding in, I wasn't sure if I wanted to add in the check glass beads, but I really love the way it looks. And I got this at about 22 inches. And I'm going to use the same magnetic little coin or button clasp that I used on my bracelet. So this will be a set. It's so sweet and I'm so excited about this. And the nice thing about this clasp is there's no right or left. It doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed, or, you know, like with a lobster claw, you want to put, if the necklace is for a right-handed person, you want to put the lobster on their right side when they clasp their necklace behind their head. But on these magnetic clasps, you don't even have to think about that. Okay, this beauty is done. Now I am going to do one more thing, and on this particular piece it is super easy. All of my jump rings are gold filled, so they are anti-tarnish. My little scrap of chain here is E-coated. It's a brass chain and E-coated, and so it is anti-tarnish. My gold seed beads are all the Duracoat galvanized. So if you're not familiar with that, that is a great seed bead. They cost a little bit more, but it does keep its color when you're using a metallic seed bead. The color doesn't darken or rub off. And my chain, all of my wire that I use to make every single one of these components has an anti-tarnish coating. So I am going to brush my Permalac coating, but I only need to do my clasps. And I will just brush it over the whole thing. And especially on this, it's a beautifully plated clasp, and it would probably last for a while. But since this is behind my neck, you know, that's where our skin gets moist. I mean, I live in a tropical climate, so I have to take care of my clasps. And I will even do, these are little gold plated ear hooks, which I love, but I will brush those as well with the Permalac. So I am going to put some better pictures up at the end of my crazy little beaded beads, and I hope everybody enjoyed this. I really encourage you to give this a try. If you are a bead weaver and you love needle and thread projects, you'll love this because this will be a no-brainer for you. And if that is something that you avoid like the plague, then I encourage you to give it a try because you really can't go wrong. You can stop when you're at the fullness you want. You can, you know, really just have fun. And if you do make any kind of a mistake in counting on this, who would ever know? I mean, it's just such a great project. And buying beaded beads can be expensive, and so this is just amazing and fun to do. So I will put links, check the description box. All the information you would ever want about this project is in the description box, and I hope everybody is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. See you in the next video.